All right, so everyone who's watching and listening, this is Jay. She's an author, spiritual teacher, badass with the swords, and I'm really glad we got to do this. We've already been speaking a little bit off camera, and you showed me your sword collection, which is, yeah, I'm really gonna try not to swear. So it's really very cool, very very cool.
Do you want me to bring the sword in?
Yeah, I might just play with it while we're talking.
Yeah, sure.
I won't poke anyone with it. I might end up poking myself.
Okay, so here we go.
Thank you.
And yeah, they're not sharpened, so it should be alright. I mean, it would still hurt, but it's not as easy to kill with a sword that is blunt.
Yep, definitely. I don't have a personal experience in that. How did you get into teaching and writing books?
I've always done that. Essentially, with teaching, they're interconnected. So the reason why I started teaching is because this is what I've been doing before, and I just picked it up where I left it off. And also because I feel it's my mission in this world to help other people see what I see and understand what I understand. And writing books just came from that. Obviously, a book is not a complete substitute of a physical teacher, but it's still better than nothing. So I just wrote these books to make life easier for my students.
That's a very cool cover, by the way. I really like the clock in the background.
Thank you. Yeah, I designed my book covers myself. Actually, this design came to me when I was in Tokyo. So I was trying to think what kind of a cover would go with this book. And this vision sort of appeared with these three guys who are the main characters from the novel. And I thought, okay, and I started working. So it was born in Tokyo, which is actually symbolic because the book begins in Tokyo.
No way.
Yes, so it's your free ticket to Tokyo.
So I can go without going.
Yes.
I can't wait to go, man. And that feeling of like I've lived there for so long. Like I was saying to you before we started recording, like one of the strong like half memory or associations I have is of like wearing very heavy feudal armor, like being, one of them. One side will have a warrior that represents their whole place, or like not village or town, but like the army sort of like group of armed forces. They have one person who fights against the other person from the other side, and I don't know where these are coming from, but I just have memories of like fighting people in this heavy armor, and this always fascinated me. And I remember telling someone, and they were like, "You go crazy! Don't talk about it."
Well, it's important to understand that there are different kinds of mind structure. And this is what confuses many people, I've noticed, because there is that large group that I call humans. Well, I don't want to call them muggles, but essentially it comes down to that. So that category, or sometimes I refer to them as Windows computers, because what they do, there are many of them. The way this society is structured right now is structured to suit their needs. And you will recognize them by the fact that, for example, you talk to someone and you're like, oh, have you read this book about something? And they're like, I don't read books, I watch the Kardashians. All right? And you would be like, I want to talk about the mystery of the universe. And they're like, you're a weirdo. Do you know that like milk in Tesco is now like 30p more than it used to be? And kind of, I mean, they would be really, really anchored and rooted in that world that they've created. So, for example, if you say, oh, I want to go freelance and I want to create my own business, they're like, you're crazy. If you, for example, if you applied for this office job, like in 5 years' time, you could be a manager of the entire. Yes, right, right.
It's exhausting to even hear it now. Like, I'm not. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, and but they're happy, and if you try to pull them out of that, they get really angry, and they would attack you to protect their vision of reality. And this is why I always believe that it's not a good or a kind thing to do. So I leave them enjoying their reality, because that's what suits them. But there is also a group of people that I call stars. The reason why, with a capital S, the reason why is because you probably know Hermes Trismegistus, the emerald tablet.
Oh yeah.
As above, so below. And the idea is, in the universe, when you look around, you will see stars as the luminaries, the shining bodies, and then you will see planets. And proportion-wise, you have more planets orbiting stars, and stars are obviously lesser in number, but they're really important because they give light. So in the human world, you will notice something quite similar because...
Yeah, you see it with stars, like people gravitate to them and they surround them, they orbit them.
Yes.
And that's why I love the term brilliant. Like, when you say, oh, someone's got a brilliant mind, it's luminescence, right? Like,
absolutely.
The brilliance is coming out of the bulb. I love that analogy.
Absolutely. And also, even more so, if you switch your perception to the auric vision, extended perception where you see energies and auras. So if you do that, you will notice that people, humans, have auras that consist of different kinds of energies. There are different colors, like blobs of different colors. Which often can be quite murky as well. It depends what that person feels and how they go through their lives, but essentially it can be quite murky. And if you look at the stars, you will notice that instead of those colors, it's usually just a uniform golden glow. They just shine. And even if you don't have extended perception, you will notice how there is just some light about them. People describe it as charisma, for example. And they, just as you said, they gravitate towards those people to be around them, warm themselves up, and have that energy for themselves. So stars as a group is less numerous than humans, but we're very interesting in many ways. First of all, we have a very strong underlying pattern of thought that connects us all. This is why it's so easy to make friends with another star. If you're talking to a human person, if you're a star, you will find it really difficult to connect because everything you say, they probably won't understand, or they won't be interested, or they will think that you're a weirdo. One of the three, and just ignore you and walk away. Whereas with another star, if you say reincarnation, they're like, so, oh yes, you know what? I'll tell you more because I read or I remember or whatever else, and they're like, you know what? I know it's like nearly midnight, but would you like to hang out because I think the sky looks really beautiful today, and let's just look at the stars. And they're like, yeah. Imagine suggesting that to a human person. They would be like, they're like,
I've got Netflix to watch, man. What are you talking about?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's like, get away from me.
That's true. And I think there's another thing. You mentioned the three options of what people react like. Number 4, from my own personal experience, they see the light that you have and they want to either destroy it or they want to have it for themselves, and no one else is allowed to have it.
Yes.
And that's, man, it's not fun, but you know what? I think I'm glad that it happens that way because it teaches you, like, okay, I was about to say swords, stars I can be around, but like the term human comes from the word for monster, and I can't remember what language it is. My friend, he studies etymology, he was telling me. Right. The word for monster is like a monster that consumes light, or not light. It's something along those lines. A monster that consumes some sort of energy. And he was like, we're not monsters. Like, we came here to be creators. We came here to be in this form to express ourselves through it.
Absolutely,
we're not just this thing.
Absolutely.
And if you tell humans that, they're like, don't talk to me about that. I want my nice egoic idea of like, this is who I am. Because it's easy. It's easy to live that way.
Absolutely. They do tend to attack us because, not out of nastiness, I believe, but simply because of how their mind works. So there are, actually, I want to touch upon some underlying differences between the two groups. And one of them is this. So for a human person, if there is something that they don't understand, they get frightened, and their natural reaction is to attack it before something happens. They don't even know whether the thing is dangerous or not. But because they don't understand, they think that, attack is the best form of defense.
Yeah, and it's the ego trying to defend so like you're bringing up something I'm not sure about or maybe haven't considered. but it's causing me to question my sense of self that I have. So I'm not comfortable with that. Thank you very much. Go away.
I would think that they don't even go as far as questioning their sense of self. They just reject you out of hand. And as I said, because they don't understand you, they would try and protect themselves by attacking you. Or any one of us. They just tend to react that way. Whereas with stars, if we see that something that we don't understand, we're like, tell me more. I want to learn more about this thing because I don't understand. So you can see how this underlying mental principles actually get in the way of us communicating easily. Another thing is, that was so funny because we're so predictable in so many ways. So again, a human person thinks, I really want to find this dream job and, I don't know, become a floor manager or like a CEO or whatever else. And if you try to dissuade them, they get angry. But if you say that to us, it's like, what are you doing with your life? You're some life coach. I don't understand what that is. Get yourself a proper job. And we're like, I'd rather starve.
Yeah. Oh man, preach. Yeah, that I'd rather starve thing. Do you know what's funny is like when I took the plunge to like quit all of the other stuff I was doing and just go full time into my business, I was scared because like everyone in society was like, don't do it. It's you're not gonna make it work. You're gonna fail. And like I was looking at like, yeah, I'd rather be a failure, whatever that means, than do another second in your company of just
Yeah.
The conversation is what I can't handle. Now I feel like I'm living the best life I could ever live because I'm doing what I love every single day, and that's beautiful. But before, I hated it. I didn't want to wake up in the morning. I didn't want to like do anything. I just wanted to sleep, smoke weed, play PlayStation, and mess around. Like not do anything in my time to alleviate that pressure of I'm living the
depression.
life.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Well, with us, with stars, we seem to have this thing that we are really, really rooted in the sense of living our purpose, and unless we're doing it, we just become really depressed. And it's important to understand that that purpose is there and you do know it. It's just a matter of getting rid of all the human BS and actually finding the courage of following it. And for us, it's paramount. It's vital. It's something that, if we don't do it, it just drives us suicidal.
Yes. With the sense of purpose, right? People say to me like, oh, how do you find your purpose? As if it's something external to be found. It's not. You just turn off everything else. Like, stop speaking with people for a bit. Isolation is definitely necessary. Yeah. Stop watching, listening, reading stuff. Just read the best book I know it sounds so cliche, but like your own inside thing, I don't know what to call it, but like your own essence is like the best book you can read, and it's the one that has the most wisdom. How, like, did you have to do that in this lifetime? Did you have to like reconnect with that part of you, or did you always just have it?
I had it, but my problem was that I didn't want to follow it because obviously everyone would be like, what are you doing? And another thing was that I didn't even feel I could do something as big as that. And I think this is the problem for most people. It's just the belief that, you can actually make it happen. Because people who change the world were the crazy ones who believe that they can. And also, I believe it does help if you have an example of someone already doing it. Or if you have a set of steps to take you there. Because certain people, I think with certain people, it's closer to the surface, and some other people, some other stars suppress it more. So it does help if you have a set of steps that take you there, or at least that trigger your thinking in a certain direction. And this is why, for example, I wrote this book, because this is to help people to find their purpose. And this is why it says you're not who you think you are. Because we think that we are our story, our ego, something that the society imposed on us, maybe even without our realizing. we may think that it's us, but it's not. So it's important to get rid of all those layers of BS, and they can be, depending on the person, layers upon layers, to find that actual essence and allowing that essence to the forefront and allowing it to thrive, because then your life just transforms. And this is the only thing we actually need. We need to live our purpose. This is what I've discovered. When you look, for example, what happens around, everyone has just one desire in this world. Can you guess what that is?
I think I've got like 1,000,000,001 guesses, and
Right.
I want to go through all of them, but yeah, I'll
Okay.
let you carry on.
All right. So the most fundamental desire of every living being is to express its divine power. This is why we want to live, because if we die, we can't do it.
Okay, it makes sense.
And if you think, then when people get depressed, one condition must be fulfilled. They must feel powerless. And if they feel powerless to change their circumstances and to do anything, they get depressed. Because we are children of the light. We need to radiate our light. We need to radiate our power. We have to. Otherwise, we just suffer. So every living being wants to do the same, because we're all parts of one big universe. And we're all different representations of that power that created that universe. So what happens, even with procreation, for example, if someone procreates, what happens? They put into the world something that hasn't been there before. They've expressed their power. They've changed the world. So anything that lives wants to change the world by expressing itself. So it's really important that we express ourselves. And with stars, we have to do it, because we literally suffer otherwise. With humans, it's more interesting, because their threshold of pain and understanding, they seem to have different emotions, or they process them differently. But their threshold seems to be much lower, which also means that, for example, they tell themselves, oh, to be happy, again, what is happiness? Happiness is when we can bend the world to our will. Namely, if everything happens the way we want and we can inflict it upon the world, we're happy, right?
Yeah. Man, I had one of them days the other day. I felt like my friend said to me, well, how you doing? And normally I'll just be like, yeah, I'm good. How are you? I was like, I feel like I'm holding the sun in one hand and all the world's oceans in the other, and I'm just doing whatever I want with it. I've never felt so powerful in my life. That's like a drug, man. Like,
yeah.
But it didn't come from anything like external. I was, like you said, imposing my will on everything that was coming to me that day, and I was refusing to take no for an answer.
Well, there we go. And then you feel the happiest.
Yeah, and I was walking out. Normally, people say I have resting bitch face, which means I look like this most of the time. And it's true. I'm not going to lie, it's true. But that day, I was walking around with a massive smile on my face. My jaw started to hurt by the end of the day because I was so happy. Yeah, it's definitely true that it's when you feel your most powerful.
Yes, and especially for us, for people, because they don't seem to be able to easily connect with their true essence, they use substitutes. And their substitutes are money or physical power. So, for example, if someone becomes a CEO or a leader of a political party, then they have this mundane power, which to them is a substitute of the actual power that they crave, but they don't understand because they're too far off. They're a bit like kids who, you can't really try to explain quantum physics to kids, because just give them some time. They will get there, just give them some time. So for them, they would use, for example, like status signaling things, a bigger house, more cars, more yachts, more whatever. And they could be happy in there. Not super happy, but happy enough. And the unfortunate thing with stars is because we tend to be affected by that human paradigm. It's actually really important to know, because it's a trap that many fall into, and it's a horrible trap to fall into. I'm going to explain why. Because if we try to follow human ways, which are not designed for us, and we don't fit in their society anyway because of our different way of thinking. So let's say there is a little star growing up, and he or she feels unhappy, predictably, and then the humans say, "Oh, it's only because your house is not big enough," and they're like, "Okay," so they buy it, and because we actually are very powerful by nature and very talented, we can make it happen. So we go out there and we get more money and we buy this bigger thing, and we still feel miserable. And then humans go around and say, well, you do have one house, but not the second house in like Ibiza. And they're like, oh, right, okay, so I was missing all along. It's like, yep, okay, so they get that another house. And they say, well, yeah, but you see, you're not famous enough. That's what screws you up. And they're like, fine, okay, I can make myself famous. So they go out there, they become super famous, and they become celebrities. And you can see at that point, humans run out of ideas.
Yeah, and that's why they're the most unhappy. And most of them, well, not most of them, but a lot of them take their lives
and take drugs to numb their pain, because they've reached the ceiling of human ambitions and ideas. So when they're like, okay, I've got 3 houses, 2 yachts, 10 cars, 20 million in the bank, or 50 million in the bank, I'm world famous, and I suffer. What now? And humans like,
oh, the doctor's got your pills, don't worry about it.
Exactly.
Oh, you got depression, here, pop these pills. You take 3 of them, it'll be your last depression nap ever. You're gone. Like, you know what annoys me is, like, speaking on that, someone told me a long time ago, the only thing that will satisfy you in this world is being successful. And I'm not going to tell you what I told them, but I was very rude about it at the time. And I've grown up a little bit since then. And now I realize that your essence, the thing that makes you, the thing that's behind your eyes driving the vessel, that is not of this world, right? So you can't nourish it with things of this world. Like a banana, you can nourish your body. That's great. But your body's of this world, so is the banana. But when you get spiritual text or like something that hits you right here and is deeply profound, that's nourishment for your soul. But when you're like chasing the acquisition of material wealth, there's no spiritual nourishment to be found there, because it's literally all of this world. And I remember when someone tried to introduce me to that concept a long time ago. This is when I used to have fear of religion, because I used to say, oh, it's just limiting people. But when someone introduced me to that idea, that's what really got me interested, because I saw people, especially in my community, they have this massive beer belly and like diabetes, obesity, cancer, and all this stuff. But no one's saying that they're wrong because they've got restaurants and properties and houses and all this other stuff. And no one's saying, hold on a minute, Jennifer, you're actually quite ill. Like, should we talk to you about that? And she's like, no, I want to eat another donut, and I got a business call to take. Shut up.
I like this little saying. It's easy to make choices once you know what you stand for. So, for example, if you say to yourself, I'm a weapon of the light, I'm here on a mission, then it's easy for you to do things that are right because they flow from your nature. And it's easy for you to follow your purpose because you know your purpose and you don't want anything else. You're not interested in any distractions. That's the beauty, actually, of following your purpose, because you just like, yeah, this feels like the most natural and the most liberating thing to do. Everything else, I'm just not interested. You know how people have to battle their Netflix addiction? I don't have to, and I believe you don't have to battle your Netflix addiction because you don't have one.
I wish I had time for one, man. That would be awesome.
Right?
Just sit around doing nothing. Well, I used to do that a lot, so no.
Yes, but that's while your consciousness was still asleep. So then we distract ourselves with things. But once we realize what we're here for, all those addictions, they just don't even make sense anymore because it's a distraction, and you don't want to take time from your mission. And it is so important to understand that we need those things in place to be able to stay strong, especially this society right now is quite shadowy, it's quite murky, lots of dark things are happening. So not to lose our sight and be able to follow our path we actually need a few little tools, so to speak, and I'm saying the tools of the mind. So, for example, a moral code is one of those things. So if you have a moral code, if you know what you stand for, you will find your way through the darkest thing, because you now know what is the light inside you. So even if it's super dark outside, you can use it to light your own way. Simple as that. So I'm not confused about my choices. It saves so much time, it saves so much energy, and it saves you from having regrets later on.
Yeah, you know what? This conversation could go on for hours, because I was just about to pick up on the regret thing, but I think we'll leave it there for today, because I want to pick up on a lot of other stuff for next time. Jay, it's been great speaking with you.
Thank you for inviting me.
Well, thank you for having me and letting me hold these swords. It's been pretty cool. Where's the best place for people to contact you if they got questions or if they want to talk about teaching stuff?
They can contact me either on my website, www.ariyamindtraining.com. I believe the link will appear somewhere down underneath the video. Just there. Facebook as well. I'm on pretty much all social media. So I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, on YouTube. Check out my videos. And there are also weekly free meditations from different places around the world, which is like a mini meditation, only 60 seconds. And you can just train yourself into mindfulness, like one step at a time. What else? So Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Yeah, check me out, get in touch. I'm friendly.
Yeah, definitely. All the links are going to be in the description. I've really enjoyed our conversation, and we're going to do more of these. Thanks everyone for tuning in. You know, you can catch the podcast every Wednesday and Saturday, and we'll see you all next time.
See you.
Peace.